What you've just seen was 30 seconds of John Cage's Water Walk, a 1951 performance art musical piece, which obviously gained a lot of laughter from the audience, but also was performed with a lot of intense rigor, staring at a stopwatch, performing everything exactly as it should be. This is very emblematic of the life and works of John Cage, described by the great Arnold Schoenberg as not a composer, but an inventor of sound. I want to get into that slight burn and great praise as we talk about his life and works. Now, a bit of a quick timeline. I'm going to breeze through this for you. Cage was born in the year 1912. He went off to go to college in the year, a little bit after, to Pomona College to study theology. He found it lacking. He didn't like academia, so he quickly went off to study just the world in Europe. Without school, just traveling very bohemian style. Eventually returning to the United States, John Cage decided to tutor or to be a pupil of Arnold Schoenberg, the great 20th century avant-garde composer, who we'll probably talk about in class more specifically later on. Schoenberg and Cage had a great working relationship for about 8 years, at which point Cage decided to leave. Schoenberg had some disagreements in music, and he went on to teach and compose in Seattle for dance theater. Cage here met his wife, Xenia Cage. The two of them would get into a bit of a menage a trois situation with a Mr. Mercy Cunningham. Eventually, Cage, soon after meeting him, divorced Xenia to spend the rest of his days with Mercy. That great pairing. But the three of them created a lot of art together. He composed a lot of musical works, also theatrical for the stage or for dance, and some happenings, some performing art pieces we're going to get into in a bit. And he eventually died of a stroke at the age of 79, but not before creating a 60-year body of musical works. Some of those include In a Landscape, which is a great example of his pieces for dance, a very free-flowing, very Eric Satie, if you know him, as very Gymnopédie #1 piano piece. We also see sonatas and interludes for prepared piano. We're going to get into what prepared piano is in a bit. Spoiler, it's very cool. Next is chance music. Without spoiling it, you'll see that Imaginary Landscape #4 calls for 24 performers on 12 radios. Very interesting. I want to talk about chance music with you on the next slide. And also 4 minutes and 33 seconds is seen here. Cage's most infamous work, very triggering and angering to some, very delightful to others. We're going to talk about why that is. And of course, some of his happenings, that water walk we saw. Near the end of his life, he returned to normal musical composition again. His number pieces, a series of sonatas, and just performance art pieces for soloists or small groups. Obviously in the Cagean style, but back to more traditional musical composition. Now, everything Cage did musically was based on very strict and rigorous philosophies, ways of looking at the world, and just the ways he understood music. I'll talk about two of those things today. Number one, Cage's ideas of sound as art. We see here a Cage quote, "I don't like meaningless sound, or meaningful sound. If sound is meaningless, I'm all for it." Now, I hesitate to think that Cage is putting down a classical musical tradition and ideas as much as he is uplifting the ideal of sound and just natural just noises that come from life as art, as performance. He was a pioneer of sound art, as we kind of saw in Water Walk a little bit, that idea of using all those just normal sounds of hitting things, blenders going, steam being released as music, as art. That's going to build up to the happening movement of postmodern performance art, just intentionally performing tasks in public. The pinnacle of this is 4 minutes and 33 seconds, which, if you don't know it, is a 4 minute and 33 second, 3-movement piece of pure silence for any number of performers on any instruments. And the point of the piece is to focus on the dead space, the silence, the emptiness of nothing, the AC running, your neighbor coughing, the pianist fidgeting on the piano bench, all of these normal sounds as beautiful art being created and being consumed by all of you captive in the space. Cage also focused on chance music a lot. Chance music is very interesting. Going back to that Imaginary Landscapes #4, the 24 performers on 12 radios, Cage randomly determined, using either dice or the Buddhist I Ching, a fortune-telling book, or some other way, randomly chose the times and beats and intervals at which performers would change the dials on the radio. The performance is written down, it must be strictly followed, but what comes across the radios on every performance is going to be different on a given day, hence contributing to that chance aspect. Cage did this because he was driven by an ideal of non-mythic listening and seeing, of perceptual innocence. Cage hoped that music composed entirely randomly, with no sort of order or tie to classical musical tradition, would create a space for all musical listeners to be able to come and have a pure, bold, brand new experience, untied to anything they've ever experienced before musically. Very interesting, very beautiful in conception. Now, I want to talk today about the Sonata No. 1 from Cage's Sonatas and Interludes for prepared piano. You can see right here what a prepared piano kind of looks like with Cage himself preparing it. You're going to see upholstery screws, you're going to see rubber straps, you're going to see erasers, you're going to see nails and other pieces of metal in between the strings. Don't worry, this doesn't hurt a piano if it's done correctly. But what this does is it creates sort of percussive sounds and timbres all across the instrument, sort of giving him percussion tools at his fingertips amongst the other piano notes. This was created for his dance pieces, but eventually became just an instrument all its own. You're going to see, this is a thumbnail from a beautiful video by Nare Sol about prepared piano. Highly recommend watching it if you're not an expert on the prepared piano. The Sonatas and Interludes is a larger work composed over 3 years of 16 sonatas and 4 interludes using only the prepared piano. This Sonata No. 1 we're going to listen to is in binary form, A, A, B, B, just repeated with no changes, no A primes here, just A, A, B, B. And though it may sound very rhythmically random at points, the piece is played very close to what is written. We're going to jump right in to a very interesting A section. Immediately listen for the sound of the prepared piano. We're going to notice right here some rubato, some of that playing with time feel, and also a bit of a decrescendo. Everything's going to get quieter and quieter. Try and pay attention, try and follow any kind of pulse here. The A section repeats. This time try following some kind of pulse here. Back in that free-form rubato section, away from the measured pulse and closer, just slower, stretched out. Listen to the silence. Our B section's coming up here. You're going to hear a very marcato, very sudden pop in 2 parts. Now, these rhythms aren't as rubato, but they are very much unpredictable, very staccato. Listen for the different timbre now that he's experimenting with on the piano. A much more percussive feel than the more melodic A section was. Now we're back in some very traditional rhythms. B section is going to repeat again. Listen for these things again. And there you have it, Sonata number 1 for the sonatas and interludes. And just as steadily as it came. Why is that jarring to us? Hopefully this lecture, this presentation helps you understand a little bit more about John Cage, why he did what he did, why he's considered to be so controversial in the music world, and also why he's so well beloved, considered one of the finest and most influential musical minds of the 20th century. I hope we can, if nothing else, can all go forward understanding that performance can be a lot broader than what we typically ascribe to it, and that sound and actions and the things we do in our daily life can be performance and can be beautiful art. Thank you very much.